Dhammang Namasami Patipanno Bhagavato Sanghasambo Sanghang Namami.
Okay. Good morning, Dr. Chanya or anyone from Thailand, and good afternoon in America. On behalf of the Council of the Thai Bhikhu in U.S.A, we have the 115 centers around the country and more than 500 Buddhist missionary monks in the 34 states. Today, it's a great honor to have our president, PhraRachabodhivitate, being a part of this special event. I would like to thank Ajahn Pasanno or the PhraRachabodhivitate. Yeah, I think the people know him, Ajahn Pasanno, and from Apayakiri, California. And would like to thank the team for the Dhamma publication of the Council of the Thai Bhikhu in U.S.A. and everyone to join with us today. And we have our first series from the Dhamma talk lesson last week by Dr. Chanya. And anyone want to listen to, you can go to the website, you can go to the Facebook and YouTube. And continuing this week, I would like to invite the president of the Council of the Thai Bhikhu in U.S.A, PhraRachabodhivitate, to keep opening speech.
Today, a very good day for the member of the Council of Thai Bhikhu in U.S.A. and for the lay people who join with the speech in the Buddhism. And want to say so thank you for all the people on over the world come to join in Thailand and anywhere, but I don't know who come from. But especially, I know the Ajahn Pasanno. Today, we have talking with anything about the teaching of the Buddha. So that is right now. That is good time for me start the teaching in the speech in the teaching of the Buddha. So repeat to Pasanno to talking with the Dhamma.
Now back to another stalemate, right here, close to the intersection of Fairfax.
ได้ยินไหม
ได้ยินไหมหลวงพ่อได้ยิน
คือได้ยินแต่ว่ามีสักคนหนึ่งที่กำลัง
มาแล้ว
แต่ก็คงขอโอกาสจาก
หลวงพ่อครับแป๊บหนึ่งครับหลวงพ่อครับนิมนต์อาจารย์ดร.ตนัดกันครับ
ใช่
Hold have to mount
okay
microphone
ครับ
โอเคกับนมัสการพระเดชพระคุณหลวงพ่อพระเทพพุทธิวิเทศ Pay respect to the most venerable พระเทพพุทธิวิเทศ the president of the Council of the Thai Bhikkhus and all Mahasangha, and also Dhamma Savadi for Dhamma greeting for all participants tonight. We have 210 as appear in the participants in this application. So today we are very fortunate to have just Ajahn Pasanno as the guest speaker tonight, First of all, I would like to introduce him to all the participants. That's someone who just came to this program. And also, we are honored to welcome Ajahn Pasanno. Ajahn Pasanno is the most senior Western disciple of the most venerable Luang Por Cha or Ajahn Cha, as you know, in the United States, and the most senior after Ajahn Sumetro and Ajahn Khema Thammo. For many years, he was the abbot of Wat Pa Nanachat International Forest Monastery in northeast of Thailand. In the late year of the 1990, Ajahn Pasanno moved to California to head the new temple there that they call Apayagiri Monastery, with more than 40 years was as a Bhikhu or the Buddhist monk. Ajahn Pasanno has been instrumental in training many monks in Thailand and the United States, and has been supportive of training for women. On December 5th, 2015, the Temple of the Emerald Buddha, Wat Phra Kaew in Bangkok, Thailand, Ajahn Pasanno received the title granted by the king, a title of Chao Kun, the name PhraRachabodhivitate, from the Crown Prince of Thailand on behalf of His Majesty King Bhumibol Adulyadej. And also on July 28, 2018, Ajahn Pasanno has granted a royal title as Chao Kun Rat, as a PhraRachabodhivitate. The title Chao Kun is given periodically to monks in Thai tradition who have distinguished themselves with their contribution to the monastic tradition. This high honor is particularly significant as Western monks are rarely awarded this special recognition. In spending more than 24 years living in Thailand, Ajahn Pasanno became a well-known and highly respected monk and Dhamma teacher. Prior to living in Thailand, he was appointed as the official preceptor with authority to preside over the ordination of Samanera and Bhikhuss. So in Thai we call Upacha. Ajahn Pasanno moved to California on New Year Eve in 1997 to share the abbotship of Apayagiri Monastery, Redwood Valley, California, with Ajahn Amaro of Amaravati Buddhist Monastery in England. After Ajahn Amaro's departure on July 20, 2010, Ajahn Pasanno became a sole abbot of Apayagiri Monastery until July 11, 2018. Apayagiri Monastery developed significantly under his leadership and guidance. So we are lucky tonight to have him as the Dhamma teacher. So please, Ajahn, give the Dhamma talk in the topic of how to live without fear and worry in the situation of the coronavirus spreading all over the world. So we need your guidance. Thank you, Ajahn, for presenting tonight. Thank you. Welcome, Ajahn.
Are being, I believe, hijacked and taken over by anarchists and others who need to do our community.
That's coming through there. Okay, somebody has a TV on in the
So that we can get a handle
or something. It's going through all of the speakers. Anyway, I'll begin the Dhamma talk. Ajahn Lit, if you can figure out who's,
Okay, okay, ครับ
if you can, or maybe if you mute.
กรุณาช่วยปิดไมค์ด้วยนะครับกรุณาช่วยปิดไมค์ด้วยนะครับ please turn mute microphone everyone ครับ just listen from อาจารย์ครับผม
Thank you. Okay, I'll begin. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namassami. So I'd like to express my appreciation to the Council of Thai Bhikkhus in America who have organized this event and making Dhamma teachings available for the community of monasteries and lay people who are scattered through. I mean, with the live streaming like this, it's not just locally, it's not just in America, it's all around the world. So people have the opportunity to plug in and gain benefit from the teachings of the Buddha, and that's something that is very important, and it's a wonderful gift. So today the topic that was given to me to speak about how to live without fear and worry, and it's I thought it was quite nice with in the way that it was written, because it's also written with a in the at least in the poster that I received, it was with a question mark, and is it possible to live without fear and worry? I mean, that's as rather than how to live without fear and worry, like you've got to live without fear and worry, or you make it into a mandate, forcing you, thinking you should live without fear and worry, is already setting oneself up for more fear and worry, probably, or a sense of put a lot of pressure on oneself. So a lot of the perspective, and this is something that, of course, that the Buddha is so skillful at doing, is getting us to reflect and investigate and understand, so that we can get a different perspective on our experience, and to be able to understand more clearly how to work with something quite ordinary, and in the sense that fear and worry are quite ordinary, and if one has passed through, what is it? Oh, it's almost 3 months now of this period of the COVID-19 virus, and its the accompanying sickness, illness, economic impact, social impact, without having any fear and worry, I expect that you're not thinking very much, or not experiencing very much. I mean, one is shutting down somehow. But that's because just because it's ordinary to have fear and worry. It doesn't mean we can obsess over it or get caught by it or create suffering around it. It's like, if you think in terms of just on a evolutionary basis, any human beings who didn't have any fear whatsoever, they probably didn't last very long on an evolutionary basis. They managed to get themselves eaten or managed to harm themselves in some way, so that they didn't pass on their genes. And so even if it is normal or ordinary, again, this is the Buddha is pointing to, with the Four Noble Truths, there is suffering. And that is really, one has to acknowledge that, oh yeah, that is suffering. And even something that is a natural response, one can't keep going over it all the time. And that's the difference between fear and worry. Like, to have some fear is quite ordinary in terms of okay, this is a quite difficult situation. This is detrimental to the health and well-being of ourselves personally, families, communities. But one can, the aspect of worry is another layer that we put on top of it that is extra suffering. And so it's just to being able to recognize this element of the naturalness of having fear, and the mind going to, because worry is more like, what if? And recognizing the presence of that emotion or that thought train. And that's, of course, why we develop mindfulness. Because if you don't have the mindfulness or awareness to recognize and articulate one's own feelings and emotion and responses, then inevitably you'll get caught up in say negative emotions or quite destructive emotions, and there will be a lot of extra suffering that is not really necessary or helpful. So just learning to have the mindfulness and discernment to be able to separate those things. It's like there's a American, he's a neuroscientist actually, and this is quite a few years ago. He wrote a book that was titled, why don't zebras have ulcers? I mean, in the sense that zebras, in a natural setting, they have to deal with some attacks by predators that's really worthy of fear. But as soon as they either escape, there's two options. They escape or they get eaten. And so that if they escape, it won't take very long, and they're back grazing and eating and hanging out with their zebra friends. Of course, humans do something quite different. I mean, we're gifted with a, let's say, more complex layers of intelligence and emotions, but because we can project and we can proliferate and we can think about things, then we start worrying. And we start, and if we, and that worry puts us back into that same kind of fight or flight response, which is extremely detrimental to our physical and mental, emotional well-being. So it's like being able to develop the mindfulness to recognize when is something actually threatening and when is it not. And that's really, really important to be able to recognize that there is a big difference, and it has a very different response to the body. So that cultivation of mindfulness, reflection, investigation, so that one can see more clearly, okay, what is actually worthy of fear and what is obsessing and getting trapped in worry. And so then that, because that's going to lead to a lot more suffering. And that's an aspect of say Buddhist practice that the Buddha talked about 2,500 years ago, because these are very human reactions, they're very human responses that even in the Buddha's time, people were quite adept at creating extra suffering for themselves, just as we are. So that learning how to develop that quality of awareness and discernment, because it's one thing to be aware of something, but then to also have the reflective investigation that is discernment or wisdom. And of course the Buddha's and that is panya, and of course the Buddha's path is very much laid on this foundation of sati and panya, mindfulness and discernment, wisdom. And so to being able to be attentive and learning how to apply the tools that the Buddha gave us. I think one of the things that is again is important in terms of reminding ourselves that it's not strange to have an experience of suffering. It's not strange to have an experience of fear, but what do we add to that? What are we putting in extra layers of difficulty for ourselves, and recognizing that is actually optional. We don't really have to be doing that. So how do we live with fear and worry? It's these cultivation of these tools of mindfulness and wisdom, and those qualities of, say, sati panya. This is I can remember when I very first went to live in Thailand with Ajahn Chah, and not knowing, when I first went, really not knowing any of the Thai language, and those were some of the first words that I actually learned in Thai. These words, sati panya, because Ajahn Chah would use those themes over and over again. I think one of the things that is a great source of, say, fear and worry is it's just uncertainty. Like if something, I mean, if we're attacked by a lion, like a zebra, that's pretty clear. That's worthy of fear. But the uncertainty that accompanies this, say, particularly at this time, in terms of an illness that is pretty vague, really. I mean, it's obviously clear, but then in our day-to-day experience, it's not, say, an immediate threat for most of us. But so then the uncertainty is something that wears away at us. And of course, that's where worry, uncertainty, and then fear start working together. And uncertainty is like Ajahn Chah used to, a lot of the times when he would speak about or teach about, say, anicca, and that's usually translated as impermanent. But Ajahn Chah would just as often, rather than talk about impermanence, he would talk about uncertainty, not sure, not a sure thing. In Thai, mai nae. And so that sense of anicca being a quality of uncertainty is much more of a, say, like an emotional response to change, an emotional response to the reality that everything is in flux. It is changing. It's everything everything really is uncertain. And remember Ajahn Chah teaching and saying that if one draws close to uncertainty, one draws close to the Buddha. And that's a really beautiful encouragement to because oftentimes especially like with fear or worry and uncertainty, those are ways of it keeps it kind of a bit distant. It's sort of objectified and is then not, I mean, it's experience, but it's experience as a threat. And we do the actual uncertainty is not really investigated clearly. So that's the sense of drawing close to uncertainty to allow it in and to recognize, oh, this is uncertainty. In the same way that with in terms of dealing with the Four Noble Truths of the Buddha, it's like being able to look, oh, this is suffering. It's sort of, oh, this is this feeling of suffering. This is this feeling of dis-ease, discontent, and uncertainty is certainly a trigger for that dukkha. So being able to name it, to see it, to recognize it is really important, because that's of course, in the teaching that the Buddha gave on the Four Noble Truths, that is what we have to do. in terms of when there's the Four Noble Truths, but then there is also the duty or responsibility that we have to each noble truth, so that the noble truth of dukkha is to be understood. It's to be recognized. It's to be understood, so that by knowing it clearly, in Thai, it's gamdot ru, so that being able to take note of it clearly, to take note of it and know it fully. This is the appropriate response, the appropriate duty, because that gives us the opportunity to see more clearly what's the cause, what's the underlying origin of this, and it's that origin of, because usually it's, especially with fear, worry, we want to push it away. It's just, why wouldn't you? I mean, it's a normal response. You want to push it away, or one has a feeling of aversion toward it, the sense of negativity. It shouldn't be this way. I don't want it to be this way. I don't like this. And of course, global pandemic. I mean, what's there to like? I mean, but it's that circling around it and worrying about it is a way that perpetuates the cycles of suffering. And so that being able to come back to this place of awareness, of knowing. And this is where the cultivation of this awareness of our breath. I mean, using something tangible to establish awareness on, because it's not enough to just say, oh, I should be mindful, I should be more aware. That's just another idea. Even if it's a good idea, it's just an idea. One has to have practical tools and to be careful in cultivating those tools. So of course the breath is always available, and so being able to pay attention. I think it's probably a universal experience that if one is feeling fear and worry, that there's a feeling of contraction. I mean, not just emotionally, but it's a feeling that is very physical. You can feel the body kind of contracting, closing in as itself, guarding itself, shutting down. And that's where just a simple exercise of paying attention to the breath, coming back to the breath, letting the breath relax the body, opening the chest so that your breath comes down into the abdomen. You relaxing the shoulders, opening the chest, softening the belly, and letting the breath inform the whole body. It's like in the Buddha's discourse on mindfulness of breathing, that sambhagaya patisangveti, that experiencing or sensitive to the whole body I breathe in, experiencing or sensitive to the whole body I breathe out. And then that pasambayang kaya sankharang, that say relaxing, settling tranquilizing, making tranquil the whole body experience. I breathe in, relaxing, settling, tranquilizing the body, the formation, the whole body formation. I breathe in, I breathe out. So just making it very conscious. And by doing that, just that, having that tangible base to establish awareness with, one has a opportunity to kind of dissolve the tendency to clamp up and let that fear and worry spin around on itself, and that's what it does. It spins around, it circles, it gets very entangled in our experience, and we suffer. So it's but that coming back to something as simple and basic as the breath. We've always have the breath. We have to be breathing, so may as well make it mindful, may as well become aware of it, and then use it as a tool for this cultivation of mindfulness and discernment, of wisdom, that cultivation of clarity through just as an in-breath and an out-breath, and not forcing the breath, but just learning how to relax into the breath and relaxing the body, relaxing the mind that way. So those are just helpful tools, helpful immediate. It's an immediate tool close by one. So learning how to tap into that. Another aspect of say how to live with fear and worry is a reminder that just learning how to be kind, learning how to be kind to ourselves, being kind to others, and that sense of fundamental kindness is a refuge. If you think of just recollecting the Buddha, and like in our in our, I guess, morning chanting, where recollecting the Buddha was as one who is with ocean-like compassion, a sense of broad, limitless compassion. But that's something that we can be learning to turn our attention to. Just this sense of kindness, compassion, metta and karuna. Those are, one of the teachers in our in the group of Ajahn Chah monks, Ajahn Vajiro, he started referring to they say the Brahma Viharas, metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, equanimity, as mature emotions. I think that's really skillful to be thinking in those terms, that one can turn one's attention to emotions that are really mature and beneficial for oneself, beneficial for others, in the same way that, when one is in a difficult situation, one is hoping to have some sort of mature response around one. Similarly, in our own internal world, as there's a mixture of a variety of reactions, responses, sometimes a whole chorus of different voices going on, just to have a mature voice of emotion saying, just be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and it's that's not a silly response. That's actually a mature response. Think of, say, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who, when asked what his philosophy or what is the basis of his, say, the religion, he said, say, my religion, my philosophy is kindness. And, it's really, and of course, it's hard to find somebody who is more knowledgeable and more accomplished in terms of the vast scriptures of Buddhism. But this sense of kindness is really, really important to reflect on, because I think one of the things that comes to mind is the say, like the Karaniya Sutta, which is a sutta. Most, if one is a Buddhist, it's one that virtually all Buddhists will know. It's the Buddha's discourse on loving kindness, and it's one that we all chant, and the refrain is like wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease, or may all beings be happy. It's this wish of loving kindness. But that discourse, just to recollect, where did that teaching come from? Well, it comes from a time when a group of monks were practicing in a forest, and they were experiencing a lot of fear because of the situation that they were experiencing. There was spirits there that were threatening them, didn't want them there, making all sorts of noises and smells and whatnot, and creating a very say disruptive presence for those monks. And the monks were originally going to spend the rains retreat there, and they just got too agitated, found it too difficult, and they went to the Buddha and told him what happened, and then what the Buddha did was teach them the discourse on loving kindness, this Karaniya Sutta, and this and to establish the mind in loving kindness. And he sent them back there and said, go back there and deal with it. Go back there and work with it. You've got the tools now that you can live in a place where before you were experiencing fear, you were obviously experiencing worry, or they wouldn't have bailed on the place. And that was those are skillful tools. So that being able to consciously bring to mind the various teachings and methods of cultivation of loving kindness, so that cultivating kindness toward oneself is so important. And again, that's when you direct loving kindness toward yourself, what do you tend to experience? There's a softening there. There's an opening there. There is settling that takes place. And that is, it's really important as a direct means of taking the edge off that push behind the mind that's I've got to be afraid of this, I've got to worry about this, and that obsessive quality. And so no, this I can just have wishing and gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease. And that's me too. It's not just other people. You want to extend that to oneself, settle oneself in that quality of loving kindness. You can cultivate that in conjunction with the breath. It's just that sense as one breathing in, breathing out, that sense of, because it's that breath that tends to really it's like untying that knot of contraction that happens in the heart and in the body when we're experiencing fear and worry, when we're in situations that are stressful, and these are stressful times, and it's not to try to sugarcoat it or trying to wish it away. It's how do we look directly at this and not be intimidated? How do we look directly at this and not be overwhelmed and realize, oh, we've got the tools, we've got the foundation, and especially as Buddhists. I mean, it's just this. That was one of the wonderful things that was really the for me, the ongoing source of inspiration in training and practicing is the recognition that the Buddha has given the tools. I grew up from a Christian background and a Judeo-Christian culture, and there's so much emphasis on belief. Like, you got to believe in something. And the Buddha is not saying you have to believe in this. You just have to do it. And it's that willingness to go ahead and do it. It's like as I was mentioning, Ajahn Chah saying, that if you draw close to uncertainty, you'll start to draw close to the Buddha. And so that sense of really drawing close to those truths of, say, anicca. Okay, this is really unsure. And same with dukkha, anicca, dukkha, anatta. These are universal characteristics that allow us to draw close to a refuge. It's like seeing things in their true nature is what opens the door for establishing ourselves in the refuge of the Buddha and the Dhamma and Sangha, of course. And those are so essential for living, without fear and worry. Or it's not a matter of living without fear and worry, but learning how to live with it. And again, not to get too idealistic about it. So I shouldn't have feelings of fear and worry. I've got to get rid of fear and worry so I can be a good Buddhist. No, pay attention to what the experience is, and that's the very first teaching that the Buddha gave. This is dukkha. There's Four Noble Truths, but the teaching on the Four Noble Truths is that yes, there is dukkha, there is suffering, there is stress and discontent, but we can understand it. We can let go of the causes of it. We can experience the cessation of it, and we can cultivate the path leading to its cessation. And that's enormously inspiring and worthy of confidence. So that living with fear and worry. This is a time where everything really is uncertain. Who knows when? We are scattered around the globe, and even if there is right now a certain beginning to open up and easing of the restrictions, who knows what's going to happen? But what we can do is be present. We can be aware. We can be kind to ourselves. We can be kind to each other, and we can learn how to look after each other. There's a fundamental generosity and kindness. These are very human qualities that, of course, are at the root of the Buddha's teachings. So I think I will close my talk. I was supposed to do 40 minutes and open it up for questions and answers. So I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you for your talk, Ajahn, and I hope that you got the guideline how to live without fear and worry today. And we have time, 15 minutes, maybe. And if anyone want to ask a question, you go to the chat and then you can write, and then we can ask the question to Ajahn again. You can. Yeah, we got some question, Ajahn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Ajahn. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. So we have a question here from one of our listeners here. I think there was a question that relates to the different types of meditation. So his question is, if he had been practicing mindfulness of breathing and loving kindness, but due to his mental health issues, it actually caused him to have anxiety. Do you have any recommendations on any different types of meditation? Thank you.
I think one of the things that's really important in terms of it's like walking meditation, and also paying attention to relaxing and settling, so that because sometimes and I noticed this both in the English language as well as in Thai. The assumption is that, say, meditation is concentration, and so like focusing the mind on one point, and certainly in the English language, when you say the word concentrate, I've got to concentrate my mind, it's already stressful. I mean, it already makes people uncomfortable, because oftentimes it's trying too hard, forcing the mind too much. So that one of the things that's important for everybody, but particularly if anybody has any underlying mental health problems, that the emphasis is more on relaxing, on body awareness, doing walking meditation, not tightening up, not forcing too much, just learning how to relax. And it's like learning how to relax and just enjoy one breath at a time. It's something that is really we tend to overlook, because we tend to be very goal-oriented. I've got to get my meditation together. I've got to make my mind concentrated. I got to make my mind peaceful. And we get so busy with that. It's really, that's stressful. So just learning how to just relax and enjoy something as simple as a breath, or just the one step at a time, doing walking meditation, doing chores, gardening, anything that's physical that one can relax into. It's really supportive, really helpful.
Thank you, Ajahn. I have one more question here, which is actually quite interesting. I think during this unprecedented time, and of course, one of the biggest worry is actually the stress and the worry itself. So this question is that, can we actually use stress or worry as an object of contemplation without avoiding it?
Yes, well, that's actually one of the things that I'm encouraging, because it's one thing to, you want to be able to, you're lifting up the stress, because you're not trying to push it away or idealize a sense, like I shouldn't experience this, I should be experiencing that. It's just sort of acknowledging and recognizing, oh, this is stress, but then turning it as a motivation for that cultivation of compassion. You're like, because compassion is like that the fundamental basis of compassion is the wish to alleviate suffering. And whether so that like when we when we bring up say compassion as an object, it's for that, may I be free from suffering, may I be free from difficulty, may I be free from stress, and may I be free from dukkha. That's the basis of the intention. And similarly for others, so that wish for may other beings, may all beings be free from stress. So then it's like recognizing that the stress that we feel, the dukkha that we feel, is something that everybody feels. It's not it's not just me that's having a difficult time during this global pandemic. It's a global pandemic. Everybody's going through various difficulties and problems and stress. So that using it as a catalyst to transform, and this is something that in terms of Buddhist practice, you want to be able to take something really ordinary, say like stress or suffering, and you take that, and it's through being mindful and understanding how universal it is, to transform it into like a mature emotion like loving kindness and compassion. And so it's like one's not pushing it away, you're not pushing the stress away, you're not trying to annihilate or get rid of the stress or dukkha, but it's lifting it up and seeing it, and then using it as a bridge so that it can take one to kindness and compassion. And it's and of course one has to be very mindful and alert, because the habit of the mind, or the tendency of the mind, is to go, why is that happening to me? Oh, I don't like this. It shouldn't be this way, and that brings the that brings the mind down. It complicates the suffering. So, but using it as a bridge or as a catalyst for transforming something that's difficult into something that's really mature and quite beautiful, because that really is the capacity of the human mind, the human heart, to rise above its habits, or rise above its tendencies, and it's so he says, yeah, this is possible. So it's a great opportunity.
Thank you, Ajahn. So if you don't mind, I also want to be respectful of the time. So I know it's 5 p.m. over here in Pacific time. I think this is actually one of a good question that I hope Ajahn can address. Something closer to home in U.S. here. And as you can see that there's so many social unrest and also uncertainty. So this question actually relates to the feeling of what he calls helplessness. It's like there are so many things that we see that we feel like, what can we do? It is that sense of helplessness. So the question is, how do we deal with that emotions of helplessness? Because it is so much of negativity and situation that we are facing here, not just the pandemic, but what we see today. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think that is again this sense of because it's important to try to recognize how do we feel helpless, and so much of it comes from the tendency to assume, because we personalize it. We personalize the experience. Okay, there's a global pandemic, and I should do something about this, and I can't do anything about it, so I'm helpless. But the assumption that I have some sort of ultimate responsibility from the beginning is a bit self-centered, and a big assumption when you start looking at it, which doesn't mean that we can't do anything at all, but it's important to recognize, well, what can we do? And of course, what we can do is we can be honest, we can be truthful, we can be caring in terms of we're not harming, we're not cheating. It's back to the 5 precepts. We can be committed to those 5 precepts that gives us an agency of establishing ourselves in skillful action that we can really feel good about. And it's really interesting in the say like in the Karaniyamatta Sutta, where it's the Buddha's words on loving kindness, and he doesn't start by saying, you should feel loving kindness for everybody and get over get over it. It's like, get over your negativity. It's like, no, this is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness, is be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech. It's like the foundation of loving kindness is in skillful action, how we relate to each other as human beings, because we start to embody that intention of kindness quite ordinarily, because we're being responsible. We are being established in the aspect of say like non-harming, of of not taking advantage of anybody. And so one is building trust. And I think that learning how to live with trust, with I mean, of course, it doesn't begin with the whole world out there. It begins with the people who are closest to you, and learning how to build on that foundation. There's a very lovely discourse where the Buddha speaks of the five bases of like of great generosity, mahadana. It's like these are really great gifts that one can make, great offerings of generosity that one can but what they are, and of course that gets your ears perked up, because what are those five great gifts? There's lots of merit in that, but what it is actually the five precepts. These are the five great gifts, because it's a gift of safety, it's a gift of kindness, it's a gift of compassion, it's a gift of establishing trust as within this human condition. And so that's a very powerful foundation for, again, recognizing that, because the ideal and the projection goes to, like, I should be saving the world somehow, or I should be able to do something, and I mean, the world has always been out of control. It's just it's never been in anybody's control. But what we can do is, through our actions of body and speech, through the training of our hearts, we can start to take responsibility for ourselves, and we start to build relationships of trust and caring and kindness. And that's really important for being able to move past or move through feelings of helplessness.
Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you for your Dhamma. So I want to hand it back to Ajahn Riti so that he can actually do the closing and
Do the
also
closing.
the prayer.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You have to unmute. You have to unmute. Okay.
Thank you, Ajahn. And we have reached to the end of the special Dhamma talk today. And I hope that everyone will come back for Saturday again, because this kind of program, we have the one a week. You remember it's 4 o'clock in the Pacific time and 6 o'clock in the morning in Thailand, and 7 in the, in East Side, New York, Okay, and then thank you very much for your joining today. Okay, we before we leave, we pay respect to the Triple Gem again. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagavang Buddhang Bhagavantam Abhivademi Sattvato Bhagavata Dhammam Namස්සami Supadipannō Bhagavato Sāvakasāto Sakkhaṃ Namāmi. Yeah, now we can talk.
Okay, thank you for organizing this.
Thank you very much.
Respect to our president. Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day for everyone.
Okay.
Next Saturday.
Have a nice day from California.
Thank you. Sadhu, everyone.
Sadhu. Thank you very much.
Venerable
Today,
Liti.
Friday.
สาธุครับ
282
281, 82. 281, 82 today. Join today.
Okay.
Very good.
Almost 300 people.
สาธุค่ะ
I upgrade to 500 again. Yeah, next time 500. It just start for 2 weeks.
ประการพระอาจารย์เจ้าค่ะ
Next time Ajahn Pasanno will come back again.
There are some people who recommend Ajahn Brahm. We invite Ajahn Brahm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
นมัสการพระอาจารย์ค่ะ
Yeah. Okay.
นมัสการค่ะ
Oh, who's that? Okay. Oh, next week again, okay? 4 o'clock in Pacific time.
กราบขอบพระคุณท่านพระอาจารย์เป็นอย่างสูงค่ะ
thank you
กราบพระอาจารย์ทุกรูปค่ะ
ครับครับ
สาธุ
Okay, good. What do you think? Do you have any suggestion for this program?
Okay.
Okay, Alex. You have any?
ท่านจะเปลี่ยนเรื่องที่จะธรรมบรรยายทุกครั้งหรือเปล่าคะจะ
ทุกครั้ง Yeah, every day. It's not the same topic. A different speaker too.
Okay.
Next, yeah.
I would like to know who is the speaker and what is the topic for next week. People would like forward.
Usually the topic I put, for the Paticca Samuppada, the way of life, but maybe something changed. Yeah, I will now. You can follow the Facebook or you can follow the website. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe the monk from the England for the next week.
Wow.
Yeah, let's see.
I see. Okay. Thank you, Ajahn. It's very fruitful talk that we did really in needs to know, especially during this very worry and a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Very good topic.
Okay. Yes.
ลากันนะสาธุ
ครับหลวงพ่อครับหลวงพ่อครับ
สาธุ
หลวงพ่อครับแล้วครับขอบคุณว่าหลวงพ่อครับ
เบิกหน้าเจอกันนะ
ผมจะส่งมาให้ครับหลวงพ่อครับ
ครับสวัสดีครับ
ครับดีครับ
Thank you.
Thank you.